Do you know what's worse than losing a cup final? The fact that our performance didn't just cost us the trophy, it exposed nearly every major weakness we've had this season. Now, before anyone jumps on our backs, let's get one thing straight. We're not turning on the squad or the manager just because of one missed piece of silverware. That's football. You win some, you lose some. Besides, we still have the league title within our grasp, and as long as we finish strong, we'll have plenty to celebrate. Sure, it's been a tough week for us, but let's not get greedy and act like this season has been a failure just because we lost the League Cup. That being said, the weaknesses we saw in that final can't be ignored. Arne Slot and the board have some big decisions to make because next season, teams like Arsenal, City and others will be coming for us. If we don't address these issues now, we could find ourselves falling behind. So what exactly went wrong against Newcastle? And how much of it falls on Arne Slot's shoulders? Well, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's break down our League Cup final performance. If you've been following our post-game analysis videos, you already know how we usually start when discussing our lineups. No surprises, as always. Well, maybe Kelleher starting was a bit of a surprise, but other than that, it was exactly the lineup we expected. Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate held down the centre of defence with Andrew Robertson on the left, and Jarell Quansah stepping in for the injured Trent Alexander-Arnold on the right. In midfield, we had Ryan Gravenberch, Dominic Szoboszlai and Alexis McAllister, while the attack featured Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota, and of course Mo Salah. Now, here's where the first issue comes in. It's not that our starting 11 is weak, far from it. But the predictability in Slot selections has become a problem. Whether it's a small issue or a big one, his reluctance to rotate the squad has played a role in the tough week we just had. With the packed fixture schedule, we've seen minimal rotation, especially for key players like Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, Diaz and Salah. And it's starting to show. Of course, the coaching staff has all the data on player fitness, but sometimes you don't need advanced stats to see what's happening. The eye test tells us everything, we're running out of steam. Compared to earlier in the season, the team's physical levels have dropped significantly. We're slower in transitions, struggling to recover quickly, and not winning as many second balls, which is something that used to be one of our biggest strengths when going direct. That's exactly why more rotation was needed in recent games. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, and in the final, Newcastle took full advantage. Newcastle are one of the most intense teams in the league. There's no other way to put it. They're relentless, both mentally and physically, and when a team has that kind of edge over you, tactics can sometimes go out the window. Just look at the numbers. Newcastle dominated the duels, both on the ground and in the air. And in modern football, that's where games are won and lost. Some might say Newcastle simply wanted it more, that they worked harder, fought more, and showed greater desire. But can we really question our players' mentality? Can we honestly say they didn't want to win this trophy? Of course not. That's why we believe this wasn't a case of lacking motivation, it was more about physical fatigue. And it's a problem that could have been avoided with better squad rotation in recent weeks. So that's the first major issue we had. Now what about the second? Well, this is where we break down what actually happened on the pitch. Just 30 seconds into the game, Newcastle's intentions were crystal clear. They pressed us high in a 4-4-2 setup, turning it into a man-to-man press whenever we tried to play out from the back. Their two strikers closed down our centre-backs, the wide players pressed our full-backs, and their central midfielders stuck tightly to our pivots. This left us with little choice but to go long, especially whenever they pressured Kelleher. And the numbers back it up. Just look at this passing map from our defensive third. It shows how little we actually tried to circulate possession in deep areas. Now, long balls are usually our bread and butter. It's how we play when we can't progress from deep. But again, remember the drop-off in our physicality, especially when it came to winning second balls. The problem was twofold. First, we lacked a real physical presence up front to challenge for aerial duels, and second, Newcastle's defensive setup made it even harder for us. Their backline went man-to-man, while Joelinton dropped deeper to cover that dangerous space between the lines, cutting off one of our key outlets. As a result, we struggled to win second balls, and every clearance or long pass seemed to fall right back into Newcastle's control. And the numbers reflect that. Just take a look at this image of our defensive actions, our players didn't put in enough work in midfield, and we simply didn't recover nearly enough loose balls. Now, that's not to say we didn't try to adapt to Newcastle's aggressive off-the-ball approach. We did. We dropped McAllister deeper, pulled Gravenberch wide to help him build up, and had Diaz and Jota rotating higher up the pitch to create openings. But Newcastle refused to compromise. They stuck to their man-to-man pressing, staying disciplined and aggressive. While this did allow us to find occasional gaps to progress the ball, our play in the final third, or rather our lack of it, was a real issue. Newcastle's backline and midfield worked relentlessly to track back, overload the ball side, and cut off passing lanes. And to make matters worse, we had little to no presence in the box to capitalize on crosses. Take this moment as an example. Jota, understandably, had to drop deep in this sequence to help with progression. But the problem? He never made an intense run back into the box afterward. That left us with 0 targets inside the area. With Newcastle congesting the centre and forcing us wide, we had nowhere to go. Crosses became ineffective because we simply had no one in position to attack them. Another major weakness that was exposed was our inability to create clear chances, especially in the first half when Newcastle dropped into a lower mid-block. Just look at this attacking third passing map. We struggled to get the ball into genuinely threatening areas, and when we did, there was little end product. Newcastle's compact shape made it difficult to break through, and our lack of sharpness in the final third only made things worse. This was because Newcastle set up in a compact 4-5-1 shape, clogging the central areas while also overloading their left side to isolate Salah. It was almost as if they were tilting the pitch, stacking more players on that side to limit his influence. Even when we did manage to get the ball to Salah, he rarely received it in a position where he could face the opposition block. That meant he couldn't drive at defenders like he usually does. And with Newcastle's relentless intensity, they quickly swarmed him, forcing him into safe, backward passes instead of dangerous attacking moves. We'd love to say things improved in the second half, but unfortunately, they didn't. If anything, it got worse as Newcastle dropped even deeper into a low block, making it even harder to break them down. The only time we looked remotely threatening was when Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott were both on the pitch. And it's no surprise that our only goal came from a Harvey Elliott assist, which Chiesa finished beautifully. Speaking of Chiesa, if we're going to play with a false 9, we have to ask, why didn't Slot try the Italian in that role? Obviously, his fitness issues have limited his minutes, but with Jota also struggling physically and Diaz not quite convincing as a central option, Chiesa probably should have had more opportunities there. Now, sure, it's easy to say this in hindsight, but if you watched our Chiesa analysis video when he first signed, you'd know he has everything needed to thrive as a false 9. His intensity, clever off-ball movement, and ability to provide passing options make him a perfect fit. In fact, he excelled in that role last season at Juventus. Guys, it was a tough loss, especially with the underwhelming performance we saw, but while it's frustrating to miss out on a trophy, it's not the end of the world. We still have the league title to fight for this season, and if anything, this final exposed areas we must improve going forward. The good news, these are fixable issues. With better squad management and the right reinforcements in the summer, we can fix these issues and hopefully maintain the gap with other teams. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think was the biggest issue in this game? Was it the lack of rotation leading up to the final, or was it more about the way we approached the game tactically? Let us know in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more breakdowns like this. We'll be covering everything as the season unfolds, so stay tuned for more analysis, discussions, and hopefully some big wins ahead. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.